um, volume button. You might have to turn that up, and then also turn your device up too. That's the best I could tell you, because I really can't do too much other than that. Up all the way. Okay, well, it is what it is. We're here. We're going to do it anyway. Pretty sure you guys can hear me. Let me see if I can hear myself. Hold on a sec. If I hit play. Ow. So Carrie and I are down here in, wait. Ow. So oh yeah, listen guys. Carrie and I are down here and it's plenty loud. That's as loud as it's going to get. So yeah, video might be a little bit blurry. I don't know if I could. I don't know if that did anything or not. I don't know. I'm not dealing with the best conditions down here. First of all, I'm in Jamaica, and Jamaica doesn't have the greatest internet, so it could be the fact that we don't have good internet. It could also be that I'm on a laptop, which I'm never on. So we're dealing with all these factors, but we're going to get the Q&A done anyway. I know it's a little echoey. I know it's a little blurry, but we'll be able to get everything in tonight. So if you haven't yet, go to Telegram and vote on the topics for tonight. I'll give everybody one more chance to do that now before I get started. If you go to my Telegram channel, the announcements channel, as we call it, which is the main channel, it'll say fake next to it. It'll say Phil Godlewski 3.0, and then in a little red box, it should say fake. It's not fake, but Telegram doesn't actually have any employees, so I can't get it changed. It's all automated. It's ridiculous. But nonetheless, the channel has right now 393,966 subscribers, so that's the one that you should be on. There's a post there. It's the second post up from the most recent one that I just posted, with some 10 choices that you could choose from for the topics of tonight's live. So out of those 10, I'm going to pick the top 5, and then you guys are going to ask me questions surrounding that particular topic. I'll go through the chat and take questions that deal with that particular topic, whatever it is. So get over to Telegram. We got about 5 minutes before we get started here, and make that vote. And in the meantime, why don't you guys tell me where you're from? Albany, Oregon. Boston Bay. Busan, Korea. Cool. Ontario, Canada. Connecticut. Mechanicsburg, Ohio. Matthews, NC. What? South Korea? Really? Yes. Van Buren, Ohio. Denmark. 2 different people. Annapolis, Maryland. Hollywood, Maryland. Prescott, Arizona. Brookfield, Wisconsin. Tecumseh, Michigan. Galveston, Texas. Norway. Terre Haute, Indiana. Statesboro, Georgia. Mesa, Arizona. Italy. Phoenix, Arizona. Elkhart, Indiana. Sweden. Oxford, Ohio. Holland, Michigan. Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Sebring, Florida with a PH. That'd be cool. We should rename Florida to PH. I think that's a great idea, actually. Carrie said the camera's really bad, so let's see if this helps. Hopefully that helped. I don't know. Oh yeah, much better. Look at me. I look like a movie star. Holy cow, look at that complexion. Just out of this world. Out of this world. So impressed with myself. Port Charlotte, Florida. Lake Ariel, Pennsylvania. Venus, that's probably fake. Oro Valley, Arizona, Peoria, Arizona, Plum, Pennsylvania, Tomball, Texas, Minster, Ohio, a couple more. Key West, Cape Breton Island, Hoboken, New Jersey, and one final one, London, England. Cool. All right, obviously we have a global audience tonight. Really, really cool. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you don't know me by now, my name is Phil Godlewski, and I am the greatest of all time. The greatest of all time, and I dare someone to challenge me, and I'll be awaiting that challenge. Anyway, I'm just kidding. I'm very sarcastic at times, and I try to be funny, but I'm not. So that's a fault of mine, but it is what it is. No, truthfully speaking, I got involved with this, as you guys know, right after the election fraud in 2020. I started speaking my mind on social media. About 4 or 5 years before that, I got involved on a different level with a wide range grassroots dissemination operation to try to educate the public as to what was really happening in the world around them, and that the mainstream media outlets that they were otherwise watching were not accurately reporting the truth. And what happens then is you have a society or multiple societies across the world that believe in lies. And how else are you supposed to know the truth unless the media is reporting it to you? So, and I'm not just talking about the mainstream media, I'm talking about social media. A lot of social media started censoring right around the 2020 mark. As we all know, many of us have lost our accounts on social media. So we decided that there had to be a way to bypass the mainstream media and speak directly to the people of the world. And we have done exactly that. I started on Facebook right after the election. We had about 50 or 100 people watching me. That went up to about 10,000 on Facebook before I got booted off around election day. I think the max I ever had on Facebook was around 15, 20,000. Then I got booted off. Actually, it was inauguration day, not election day. Facebook got rid of my account, so we went over to YouTube. That didn't take long. YouTube completely crushed my account as well because they're, obviously very woke. And we ended up on DLive for a while, Twitch for a little while, got kicked off there. Then we found a home on Rumble. Most of you guys are watching right now on Rumble. And we went to some other platforms as well, locals, obviously. I still have a Facebook group, but it's an invite-only group. Quite a bit of people watch there, actually. But yeah, so that's what we've been doing for the last many years now. And we're going to continue to do that. So just to follow up on my previous live, we talked about, I'm just going to try to package this in a little 30-second bundle. We talked about the recent convictions of Donald Trump with the 34 felonies that he was convicted of. And we talked about how, again, the way that the mainstream media is reporting it and the way that it's being presented to us isn't the full truth of the matter, much like the 2020 election wasn't the full truth of the matter. So we are in a world right now that we've never seen before. We've never seen the type of PSYOP, which is a psychological operation that's taking place to humanity right now. And people like me started becoming popular when we started vocalizing and creating a platform for people like you to view, so like I said before, bypass the mainstream media and get the intel directly from people that are in the know. And there's been a lot of people like me that have popped up, obviously, since 2020. And But of course, I'm the greatest of them all. A lot of people call me a goat. I don't know why. I don't resemble a goat. I don't smell like a goat. I don't think I act like a goat. Maybe sometimes I do, but that would be in private. So, not sure what that means, but that's all I know. Anyway, so here's what we're going to do. I just wanted to get that little soundbite there while people went over to Telegram and voted. Let's see if we got more votes. Oh, yeah, we got a whole bunch of new ones. Okay, so I'm going to take the top 5 of these as of right now. Yeah, maybe I should just screenshot this. There we go. That's a good idea. There we go. Okay, so I got the top vote getters on the screen as of this moment, and they are first place with 54% of the vote is continuity of government and the PED. For those of you that don't know what a PED is, it's the Presidential Emergency Action Document. So we're going to be fielding questions about that. Number 2, coming in at 50% is stock market crash. And don't worry, I'm going to announce these before we do the questions. I just want to read off the top 5 so you guys know what they are. Number 2 with 50% of the vote is stock market crash. Now you're going to see 54 and 50% is obviously 104%. How could that be? Because you could vote for more than one topic. You could vote for as many as you want. You could just vote for any topic just one time. So the percentages aren't going to add up to 100. Anyway, stock market crash is number 2. Number 3 with 47% is election 2024. Number 4 with 46% is comms. That's going to be an interesting one. And the 5th and final vote getter with 42% is banking crisis. So those are the topics we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to start with the lowest vote getter, which is going to be banking crisis. So right now, I'm going to be fielding questions on the banking crisis. And you guys are going to ask them, and I'm going to answer them. And that's how a Q&A works, just in case you didn't know. So let me get rid of this thing here real quick. Why is it moving? Why isn't it moving? All right, let's just put you way over there then, if you're going to give me a hard time. Okay, so the very first topic is the banking crisis. So all questions that I'm going to be fielding right now are going to be on the banking crisis. You ask your question in the chat, and I will answer it to the best of my ability. First one I see is, will Chase Bank crash? So this is a topic that we talked about before surrounding Chase Bank in particular. Jamie Dimon. If you don't know who Jamie Dimon is, he is the bigwig at Chase Bank. And Jamie Dimon has the unique ability, so to speak, to put his company and himself in the best possible position at all times. He did this in the mortgage crisis of 2008, and he's done it throughout the years as his reign and CEO of Chase Bank has continued. I don't want to call him a smart man, but I do want to refer to him as conniving, and he gets things done. So there's one thing that we have to remember with the banking crisis as a whole, and as it relates to Chase Bank or any other bank. Some banks need to survive the changeover into the quantum system. Not every bank will fail. Almost all of them will. But there will be some left over. Now, the last time I talked to the people in the know about this, I was told only one bank would survive. And that doesn't necessarily mean they won't become insolvent. They still may become insolvent, even if there's several banks that actually make it through and the structure of those banks is used for the new QFS, meaning the way that the company is set up, the logistics of the company is set up, those banks still may become insolvent. So if you have your money in those banks, if you just read your agreement that you signed with the bank when you opened your bank account, if your bank becomes insolvent, anything in your bank account belongs to them. You don't get it back. Now, of course, you'll have FDIC insurance, which is the Federal Reserve's insurance policy, basically, to protect you up to $250,000. But what if they become insolvent? This happened with AIG back in the mortgage crisis. Everyone's like, oh, don't worry. If the banks fail, we have insurance against that. Well, okay, well, what if they go bankrupt? Who's your insurance carrier then? Nobody. And that's exactly why the FDIC is scary. And what we see happening now at the FDIC is an enormous amount of exposure. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on with the way that they treat employees and the way that they're, moving money illegally and a lot of other stuff. So you can't really rely on the FDIC to bail your bank or any other bank out of a situation like that. So will Chase survive? If any banks do survive, I think it's going to be probably somebody like Chase, although I don't know this for sure. But even if that's the case, the insolvency is still going to be an issue. They may survive past the crash, but past the changeover rather, but they're still going to crash, as you originally asked me. So I think, a lot remains to be seen, but I don't trust any banks right now at all. Zero. If there's one that I would trust, it would probably be Chase, but I don't trust it. I hope that answers your question. Lisa Fox from my Friends of Mark Poole group. Thank you guys for the flowers and the candies last night, by the way. We got them on our anniversary dinner. Absolutely incredibly thoughtful of you guys. Thank you for everybody that organized that. We really liked it. It's great to see that you guys have reach, halfway across flat Earth to where I am. It was a really, really nice gesture. Thank you. So Lisa Fox, here we go. $20 Rumble Rant. Hi, Phil. Group question. Bank of Canada had issues today, dropping from $29.75 a share to $4.75 a share. Will we see that here as well in an attempt to prolong the inevitable? Code word greenback boogie. So excellent question, as always, from you. The banking system is not United States specific. So Canada is going to be affected. Europe's going to be affected. Africa is going to be affected. India, China, keep going. Japan, all the way across flat Earth, there's going to be major stock losses, just like the one that you just described. And there's also going to be similar activity to what we were just talking about with the potential collapse of Chase Bank. So that's because the banking system that's currently in place is cabal, and the cabal is falling. It's happening in multiple facets, simultaneously in real time. So yeah, I think the drop in stock that you saw today of the bank that you mentioned is going to take place regularly going forward. And if you look back just on the last year and a half since March of 23, that's when Silicon Valley Bank went under, and then the rest of it, I think it was First Republic and a couple others went after that. You're going to see that throughout 2024. I think you're already starting to see it with the enormous stock losses. You're talking about $25 a share for that bank that Lisa just mentioned. And if that starts happening, that's when insolvency happens. And if the bank declares that they're insolvent, whatever you have in the bank is gone. That's just how it goes. So luckily, I've tried to set up a contingency plan for this. That's why I introduced Gold Quiz. That's why I introduced Phil Silver. Those will help you get the money out of the bank and into a metal, into a precious metal. It could be gold, could be silver. We all see what's happening with the prices of gold and silver. Silver will not go past 29 something, probably ever again. So if you guys were the lucky ones when we first started this, buying in at $17, $18, $19 an ounce, your metal is protected all the way up to about 30 bucks an ounce now. And the sky's the limit for silver. Gold has been touching all-time highs throughout this year. Silver is on an 11-year high. So we've created some opportunity for you to get out of the banking system and into metals. Goldquiz.com is one that's for either an EFT transfer of a large savings account or a large amount of cash that you have. Take it out of the bank, put it into metal, they'll send the metal right to you. Or if you have your money in a 401k or an IRA, you could get it right the heck out of there too, roll it right over and get it into metals. Now you have the same 401k or IRA, but it's backed by metal instead of the dollar. The dollar that it's backed by is in a bank account. No matter who you have your 401k or IRA from, that dollar is in their bank account. If their bank crashes and becomes insolvent, you lose. Plain and simple. So that's why I've created these opportunities. Good question, Lisa. Let's go on to the next. This one from B Spain, another $20 Rumble rant. July 9, 2024 is the end of the petrodollar pact. Do you think this will be the public collapse of the dollar and the market? Could very well be, and you're right, that is the end of the petrodollar pact. July 9th strikes me as a pretty interesting date because it's just a couple days before Trump gets sentenced. So if we're looking for that event that we've been talking about now for weeks, what better time to collapse the US dollar and, by and large, the banking system, the cabal banking system, than around the same time that the most popular president in United States history and probably in world history gets sentenced to jail? Wouldn't that create an enormous amount of uprising? I think it would. What better opportunity to introduce something like June 9th? You said June 9th, not July 9th, June 9th? Okay. Well, then that takes everything that I just said about Trump out of the playing field. However, that doesn't mean that it can't happen on June 9th. And then, the reveal of it happens more towards the time that Trump gets sentenced. That would create a really good opportunity to introduce something like the EBS, like the, limited martial law, the military coming in and saying, our country's been hijacked, our constitution is under attack. So, between now and if you remember, in my live that I held, it was about a month and a half ago or so, it was called The Event. I said there's going to be an event, and I said I can't see how it could get past June or July. Why? Because the election is scheduled for November. So when are you going to act? October? There has to be time. There has to be, the shit's going to hit the fan. There's no other way. There's no other way. 98C. What price does silver need to hit before banks implode? $40? It's actually $39 and some cents. But that's the next big level. The one level that we were trying to push past was that $29.78 mark, and we're past that. As you saw last week, it was up to 32. What did it do today? I haven't seen. Let me check. Okay, we're at just a little above 30 today. But you're going to see that it'll stall. When it's starting to go down, it'll stall right around 30. And that's because we got past that next break. So what happens is, once it gets so high, the banks that are betting against the metal have to start paying out their losses. For every $1, I've said this many times before, but for every $1 the price of silver goes up, Bank of America loses $800 million. And look at how much silver's gone up in the last 30 days. What was it, $7, $8, $9 an ounce? Do the math. They don't have the money anymore to suppress the amount down to where it has been in the 20s and even below 20. So what's happening now is we're creating a new floor at that $30 mark, roughly $30 mark. And when it goes up to that $39, $40 mark, there's going to be a point where it gets to around 40, let's say between 40 and 50 to be safe. There's going to be a point where it gets there and then it just skyrockets. Like the graph isn't going to look like this anymore and it's going up, going up, going up. It's going to look like that and it's going to go, choo. It's going to be like the side of a mountain. Like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the GameStop graph. When that happened, when GameStop was going through the roof, that's silver. And when it gets up there, who knows where it'll stop? Could stop at 500, could stop at 1,500, 5,000. It'll stop and it'll plateau there for wherever that is for a little while. But then that's when a lot of attention is going to be on it. And then a lot of the lies that have been told about metals are going to be coming right out in the open. And by the time that happens, there's not a bank in the world that could survive something like that. So that's why it's incredibly important to know where your wealth is. And if it is in a bank, it is subject to potential seizure if the bank goes into insolvency. Good question. What about credit unions? We have 155 pounds of silver. Well, the second thing was a statement and not a question, but what about credit unions? Same thing. So credit unions are insured a different way. They're not insured by the FDIC, but the parent company of the company that insures your credit union is FDIC. So a credit union is different from a bank in a few different ways, but ultimately the insolvency clause is exactly the same as any other bank. The only difference being is that your money at that credit union is insured by a different entity. No difference. And that entity is backed by, you guessed it, the Federal Reserve. $17 Rumble rant. The Bank of Jamaica is named in a list of target banks in Q Drop 137. Does your trip have anything to do with this? Or the DC National Guard Joint Special Ops exercises? That is an excellent question, and unfortunately, I'm unable to answer that question. I just can't answer it. Whether I am here for that or not, I can't answer it. I'm not saying I'm not confirming, nor am I denying, but that's not something that I can answer. But it is an excellent question, and you're right. The Bank of Jamaica was mentioned in 137. So very observant of you on that. All right, we're going to move on to topic number 2. We're going to go from the bottom up. That was 42%. What was next here? 46. So that would be comms. All right, so comms. What do you guys want to know about comms? You asked me a question about comms. I will answer the question about comms. I'm not going to give you comms. You have to ask the question about comms. While we wait for one of the first questions to pop up, this one says, once silver goes up like that, do you think it'll ever come back down this far? No. It's going to level out somewhere at a really high number, and it'll just stay there up and down a little bit, from month to month or so. Comms are communications for those that don't know. I give out comms a lot. If you want to know about some of my comms, you could ask about that. Or if you want to know maybe something about comms that you see from Trump or somebody else. What is a comm and the reason for them? Okay, well, that's a good way to start. A comm is a clandestine approach to communication. So clandestine means kind of behind the scenes and covert type. With what's happened since 2020, we can't just come out and use the mainstream media anymore to tell the truth. So we have to tell the truth in different ways. We have to communicate sometimes with each other through different means. It could be different platforms. I put a lot of comms on Telegram. I did for quite a while. We kind of transitioning into a new system now, but we communicate with each other in different ways to bypass the enemy. So what's happened now is the enemy is very weak. So the comms have slowed down. They're not like they were towards 2020. And I'm not just talking about from me. I'm talking about Pompeo was loaded with comms. Kash Patel loaded with comms. Q loaded with comms. So there were so many comms that were out there, and that's where the decoders came from. That's where a lot of the bakers from the Q boards came from. The bakers would take something that Q said and kind of dumb it down and get a discussion going about it, to therefore decode or try to figure out what Q was getting at by saying the things that he said in a certain way. So a comm is anything that someone could communicate through by bypassing the regular channels of text message, phone call. Look what they did to Trump's campaign, Crossfire Hurricane, where they, stripped down all of his, they unmasked all of his campaign. They were spying on his campaign. So they said, you know what? Let's do this a different way. Gematria was one of the big ways that they are, that they relied upon. And there's others as well. And I give them out sometimes too, to try to give you guys an opportunity to hear the things that can't necessarily come out of my mouth, to try to figure them out in a different way. Good question. Good way to start. Sarah Hops from the Mark Poole group. You mentioned the word Thursday in quotes. 6-6. Back in 6-6-22, you posted a pic of London Bridge. On 6-5, you sent Little Lake. Little Lakes in Gematria is King Charles. Something to go publicly with King Charles. Well, there was that comm that you just, it was a comm, of course it was. I mean, it's obvious that it was. But King Charles, I believe at the time, King Charles wasn't even king yet, right? So it was kind of pointing towards that. But there's more with King Charles that's coming, and it wasn't just the satanic picture that they released. It was a lot more than that. It is a lot more than that. So there's going to be more coming with King Charles, but you're on the right track with what you're doing there. In terms of trying to decode this stuff. So great job. Another one here from Sarah, back to back. I thought when you post comms, you usually say end comms. However, on January 14, 2024, you never said end comms. Does this mean your comms are still active? What was that date? January 14, 2024? One moment, please. I need to read the comms. I need to see what they were. There we go. Oh. Let me just tell you this. You're on to something there, but it's not what you said. Best way I could answer it. Group chat discuss. Next question. Group chat discussing what LV means in drops. LV is Las Vegas. L equals 12. V equals 22, which is 34. Trump is in Vegas Sunday. Repeat a false flag assassination attempt using deep state playbook. No, I don't believe there's going to be any assassination attempt on Trump. I know that was, we're talking about the Route 92, shooting in Vegas from Mandalay Bay. We're talking about that, and that cover up that happened that day. The question is asking, do we think that that's going to happen again, considering Trump is going back to Vegas? no, I see how you're trying to connect it there, but that's not, there may have been assassination plans for Trump in the past, but the cabal is so weak right now that it's not, unless there's a lone, psychopath out there that really wants to kill Trump, getting close enough to kill Trump is going to be a very difficult thing to do, obviously, because he's so well insulated. So I don't think anything like that's going to happen. LV in the drops was, of course, Las Vegas, and Q did talk about what was going to happen in Las Vegas during Route 92 before it even happened. So that was one big Q proof, of course. But going forward, I know nothing about any kind of fake or calm assassination attempt. You said you should be from Vandergrift. I did say that. Is that a com that points to Vandergrift and Tesla? Vandergraaf and Tesla. Van de Graaff's and Tesla. Sorry, I can't speak, apparently. No, actually, it wasn't a com at all. I just thought it was funny that it has the word grift in it, and everyone calls me a grifter. So I figured, well, if I was from Vandergrift, it would be very fitting because I grift. Get it? Now there's going to be a meme out there with my voice that says, I grift, I grift, I grift, I grift, I grift. There you go. Now I gave you a really good one to mess with. Screenshot that and put it everywhere. Good question, though, but no, not this time. Does Hello George relate to George Floyd, and will we see him before September? Truthfully speaking, I don't think we'll ever see George Floyd again, not because he's dead, but because he was used for a certain psyop, and he's long gone now. Even if he tried to come out of the protection that he's under, there would be no way they would let him live that long to get out. So George Floyd, from all the intel that I have, is alive, and that whole situation was used to, highlight what was going on, but it wasn't, there's no plan to reveal George Floyd to the public or anything like that. If something like that happens, it's outside of white hat control. There's nothing that's planned regarding George Floyd from our side. Answer questions for my D-Liver? Sure, I could do that. Let's go over to D-Live. I guess I'll open this treasure chest while I'm here. Woo, almost 2,000 lemons in that bad boy. 30-second countdown, then I'll call the winners out. You have to be a D-Live member to get the lemons. The lemons could be used to subscribe on D-Live, and you could get some other perks on D-Live as well. Let's see. Hello, George. Is that JFK Jr.'s magazine? Yes, it is. All right, let's see who the winners here are in D-Live. We got Jay Lawler, 235.7 lemons. Darlene Asher, 135.8. Sherry B, 98.4. Marcia Hone, 78.4. And Timberwolf, 65.7. Congratulations to the winners on D-Live. It's got a couple questions over here on comms. Here's one from Mimi Pizzario. What purpose could be served by public comms presently? Same thing as I said before. Public comms could be used to bypass the regular communication systems via email, text message, phone call. Any of these things could be monitored. There are still weaponized forms of government within the government, rogue agents that are still in certain agencies, such as the CIA, the FBI, the DOJ, maybe even the NSA. So these agencies still have some bad actors in them, and we don't know necessarily, until we weed out absolutely everybody, we don't know what's safe and what isn't safe. So that would be the reason to still have public comms in place. We're just doing comms right now, guys. Is Built Different a comm? Built Different's been a comm for a while. Once I did it in Gematria, once I put it into Gematria, it was like a thing on TikTok where my stepdaughter Jocelyn, she's like into TikTok and all this stuff, and like one of the things on there was I'm built different and whatever. So we had like a joke about it a year ago, and then I just so happened to, realize what it stood for in Gematria, and I started using it. So I use it often. Obviously, you've seen me in this shirt quite often, and I like wearing it on certain occasions. Is Ezra Cohen Watnick calling out Ghost Ezra a comm? No. I didn't see Ezra call out Ghost Ezra anyway. I don't know if you're talking about the Telegram Ghost Ezra, but I don't believe that's the Telegram Ezra, but Ezra Cohen Watnick is not on Telegram. He only has a Twitter account. So if you're in one of those channels, that's not the right channel to be in. Okay, let's go on to the third topic. That was comms. The next one is election 2024. Let's move on to election 2024. Just so you guys know, we're doing a structured Q&A, which means I'm saying topics and you ask questions on those topics. So the current topic is election 2024. I'll answer this one while those questions populate. This is another one on comms. It's from Happily Benham. Last live you wore a New York Yankees hat, which in simple gematria is 191, and in simple gematria is Phil, BO extract conf, so happens to be exactly word for word written in Q Post 101. Coincidence? No. No, not a coincidence. Excellent work on that one. That was great decoding. It's funny, I only brought one hat here to Jamaica, and it was for that exact purpose. And you figured it out that it was Drop 101. Great job. Now, what did I mean by that? That's the ultimate question. So you figured out the comm, but now you got to see how it actually relates to current events in our real world, right? So there's always a two-part method to comms. I'm telling you something, but I'm not really telling it to you. I'm just pointing you in the right direction. Now you have to figure out what the hell I meant by it, and then tie it into the world. And then once you actually do that and you see what that relates to, you're going to think I'm a genius. Or maybe I just know a little bit. This doesn't have anything to do with election 24, but I'll answer this question quickly. Say someone has collected 500 coins, would they become a silver millionaire? Assuming that they're 1 ounce coins, and silver, even if it went to 20,000 an ounce, that's $1 million, right? No, it's more than it's $10 million. So even if it went to what is it, 2,000 an ounce? Is that what it would be? 2,000 times 500? Yeah, it's $1 million. So silver, I think, easily goes to 2,000 an ounce. So yeah, it'd be a millionaire if they're 1 ounce coins. If they're half ounce coins or quarter ounce coins, it's obviously a different story. Okay, now we're on to election. Election 24, that was the third highest vote getter today. Only answering questions on election 2024. When will SCOTUS announce the 2020 election fraudulent? Well, a couple things have to happen before then. You can't just be sitting there waiting for the Supreme Court to make that announcement. It's not like a special press conference is going to be called and there's the justices and they announce it. That's not how it's going to go. There has to be a series of events that take place before such an announcement could actually be made. So I think that series of events has already First of all, it was a very long series of events, obviously. But I think that the current series of events is already kicked into motion. You got Trump on trial. You got Trump convicted of 34 felonies. You have a sentencing coming up in a little over a month. This is when the shit hits the fan. This is when we decide who our white hats truly were and whether or not our trust in them was justified for these past few years. Will there even be an election in 2024? I don't believe so. Nope. No, I don't believe there will be an election in 2024 at all. And if you look at some other key individuals that have opined on that particular topic, General Flynn said that he could see a situation where there is no 2024 election and that some black swan event takes place before then to cancel the election. And I think I know exactly what he was talking about. We're in the middle of the black swan event, right? Trump was just convicted of 34 felonies. You know, Al Capone was only convicted of 15. Where are we? What world do we live in? You know? And I know this isn't reality. It's not. This is planned. It was planned this way to wake us the heck up. But Flynn thinks that there's going to be a major event that stops the election. Well, you're looking at it. You're looking at it. Trump was convicted and is going to be sentenced to jail all because of a political prosecution by the weaponized Department of Justice of his political opponent. That is treason. It's essentially a declaration of war. It's unconstitutional, and the military needs to protect the Constitution. So, no, I don't think there's going to be an election in 24 at all. I can't see how there could be. Truthfully, if what I described in my last live about the military coming in and you know, straightening everything out, suspension of habeas corpus, mass arrests, emergency broadcast system, all that stuff. If that doesn't happen, and we proceed to 2024, to November of 2024, to vote in the general election for president, Trump could be in jail. He's going to get sentenced, and he's going to have to report to jail before November. He's not going to get like a 5-month leave for the election. They're going to put him in jail before then. So then what? There's not going to be bail. Where are we then? No election. Number 34 is huge. You referenced it earlier on. The number is popping up all over after Trump's verdict. 34th week of 2024 happens to begin 8/19. That's August 19. That is the start of the DNC convention. Another 34 comp. Sure is. Sure is. And I didn't just pick 34 for the title of my last live. It was to show you guys that we are still using comms for confirmation of things. And ultimately, well, one of the reasons why this continues to happen is confirmation of Q proofs. You guys still, I don't think, are realizing the importance of what Q and Q's drops have had on humanity. I don't think anyone really realizes it just yet. But they will. Take another one. You said earlier Trump wouldn't go to jail. Now he is. What changed? Or now you say he is. What changed? When I said he wouldn't go to jail, it was a while ago. It was probably a couple years ago when I was asked that question. A lot has changed. The way that, first of all, here's the biggest thing that changed. Trump didn't want to leave office. Trump wanted to do what they're doing now. He wanted to do that in late 2020, in December of 2020. Suspend habeas corpus, Stafford Act, all of those things. Military comes in, EBS, mass arrest now, suspend habeas corpus, ask questions later. That's what Trump wanted to do. And that changed. And then there were probably a dozen different pathways that the white hats in the military could have gone down to finalize this shit show. And everyone that they wanted to go down for one reason or another. And the story of this is all going to come out eventually. But I can't wait to see that documentary. Whew. I'll be glued to the screen. Anyway, for one reason or another, the pathway changed. I've reported on many pathways that I thought would happen, and what pisses me off is that I get made out to look like an idiot, because I'm being told this is going to go this way, and then they change it. So then everything that I reported on what I was told makes me look like, but at least I'm reporting the truth. You can't say that about the mainstream media, for example. So a lot has changed. I think that they've changed this plan many, many different times, many times. Is the art on the wall behind you a calm for California decertifying their 2020 election results? No, that art is just in our suite. I had nothing to do with that art. 98C again. Is there any chance General Michael Flynn could be Trump's VP candidate? Can you please give a shout out to flynnmovie.com? It's one of the best movies I've seen exposing the deep state. Yeah, so Flynn's movie, I actually haven't seen it yet, but I heard it is good. Listen, I think you know this, 98C, because you've been following me for a very long time, because I've read your questions many times. I've always said from Jump Street, that Flynn would be Trump's VP. I said it for a very long time now. Then I got intel that that's not the case anymore. And that intel was recently. I have not heard anything about it since. So the current intel that I have is that it will not be Trump and that it will be DeSantis. But it's changed before. I still see Flynn as a better fit, to be honest with you, especially for the new role that the vice president's going to have, because it's not going to be this bullshit role that the vice presidents have had in the past, where they're do-nothing vice presidents, and it's a title, except for Dick Cheney. He ran the country and the world from the vice presidency. But it's going to be different. So the intel that I have says DeSantis. The intel that I had for 3 years running was Flynn. So we'll see. I don't know. Lisa Fox again. Hi, Phil. Group question. Mars, military auxiliary radio system. Was that what Donald Trump was referring to when he said AM radio a while back? Yeah, of course. Yeah, so Mars, when you hear Mars, you think of the planet, obviously. But Mars is an acronym that's used for many things. And one of them, of course, is in the military. It's a radio broadcasting system, basically. And it's very similar to what the EBS would be in a few different ways anyway. So Trump says things that seem like he does this a lot in speeches and rallies, even in interviews when he was on mainstream media. He says things that seem like they're way off on a tangent somewhere. Like, what's this guy talking about? Like, she asked about the economy. He's talking about AM radio, or he's talking about cucumbers, or he's talking about, furniture. He's probably one of the smartest people in the world currently, at least in the top 10. he doesn't just go off on those tangents and talk like he's your drunk uncle. I know that's what it seems like, but that's not the case. He's actually saying things, he's telling you things without telling you. That's what Q did. That's what I do. That's what comms are all about. So, yeah, you're right down to it. That's exactly what he was talking about, and I think it was a warning about the EBS. All right, let's go on to the next topic. We got 2 left. That was election 24, right? Next one is stock market crash. Ask me questions about the stock market crash. Lori Potts says, my name is Lisa Fox. Can you answer our questions too? LOL, just playing. Okay, I'll do this one while we wait for the stock market crash questions. Nikki B asks, you mentioned the EBS and martial law could happen around the sentencing of Trump. If this happens, how long do you think we would be under military control, and would Trump assume the presidency then? Great question. I think, assuming that timeline is accurate, which I don't know if it is, but let's assume that it is. Around the sentencing, let's say the first, second week of July, EBS starts and Trump gets sentenced and they're trying to put him in jail and whatever. If that happens in that time frame, I think we're going to be under limited martial law anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks, up to 30 days, I'd say. I would say no less than 2 weeks. I can't see how a limited martial law would work for more than 30 days. So I'd say somewhere between 2 and 4 weeks. I'll take it to about the beginning of August. I think after that, once the dust settles for that 30-day period or so, you're going to see major announcements from the military, because the military is going to be temporarily in control of the country at that point. So who will be the spokesperson, or what will be the way of relaying those messages to the general public? I don't know. But shortly after that, I think what it's going to lead up to, which would, let's say, be sometime in August, it's going to lay out a pathway of a special election, and not just a special election for the president, because during that 30-day period, anyone that committed treason, sedition, or crimes against their country or crimes against humanity, for that matter, during that 30-day period, I think a lot of senators, congressmen, governors, and otherwise within government are going to be secretaries of state, are going to be rounded up and jailed, and they'll sort out the mess later. So I think a lot of consolidation is going to happen within government. Certain positions are just going to be eliminated because they're useless. A lot of those positions in government were created for purposes of corruption, because if you could corrupt a mid-level associate, that affects everybody down. And eventually you work your way up to the top. You work your way from, Secretary of State to lieutenant governor, and then ultimately up to governor, right? But they had to start low and then work their way up. Sometimes those people that started low, that were cabal, worked their way up to the next rank, and then the next rank, and then ultimately all the way up to the top. So we know who they are. Trump said he caught them all, and he did. So there's going to be a lot of positions that end up open and need to be filled by a special election. We talked about the deep state target list, Ivan Ranklin, that he talked about. He has 300 and some names, 350, 400 names. That's who we're talking about. Now, those people aren't all political seat holders, but they are all deep state, and some of them are absolutely in politics. And Ivan's list may be a little bit different than the list that the military has, or maybe much of the same, but the military has a much bigger one. Okay, we're back to stock market crash. We're only answering questions on stock market crash. Group question regarding the stock market crash. Will this be the event to bring Mill prior to the sentencing on on July 11th? I don't want to say that the stock market crash will be the sole driver for that, but I think the stock market crash is going to be the driver for a lot of things, that being one of them. But it's not the way that you're asking it means is when that happens, is this going to happen as a direct result? Possibly. But when the stock market crashes, a lot of shit's going down. I mean, we're not talking about like a couple 1,000-point loss in the stock market. We're talking about like 20% day one, 20% day two, halting of trading, panic, people trying to get money out of banks, being turned away, panic. We're talking about like a major crash. And that is going to lead to many, many different things. So there's going to be a period where everybody just has to sit back and let the dust settle and let the people that are in control or are in charge or that we trust sort things out. So that could be one of the things, but not necessarily the only thing that is caused by the stock market crashing. Will the stock market crash before or after the Trump sentencing? First of all, I want to preface this. I'm not in control of the stock market crashing. I wish I was, because I'd flip that button right now. And whoever still has money in there, well, it's your problem. Figure it out later with whoever you got to figure it out with. I don't have money in there, so I'm good. Hopefully you guys got your 401ks and your IRAs the hell out of your current custodian, because whoever you have it invested with has that money invested in the stock market on your behalf and with your permission. You might not have said directly, hey, yeah, go invest in these particular stocks, but you gave them authority to do with it what they want. And you get your statements and you get your returns or you get your losses. You see them every month or however quarterly, wherever you get your statements. So you gave them permission to put it in the stock market. If it's still there, God bless you. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, how many times have how loud and from how high of a mountaintop do I have to scream, get your 401k out of where it is now and put it into metal? I created a damn website for it to make it so simple for you. Answer questions, set up an appointment, take the phone call, done. Could all be done in a week. And yet a lot of you haven't done it. Goldquiz.com was the saving grace to help people save their wealth that they've worked so hard for. So I understand a lot of you can't get it out because of stupid illegal rules. You people will be safe. If you can't get it out, you'll be safe. But if you can and you don't, then hey, that onus is on you. But I don't know exactly when it'll be, of course, but I do think it'll be right around the same time as Trump sentencing and off to jail and all that stuff. The country is just not going to stand for this. And when I say the country, I don't just mean the citizens and the patriots. I'm talking about the military and those that swore to protect the Constitution. Because right now the Constitution has been hijacked. If you go by what you see in the mainstream media. Obviously, it's us that are pulling the strings to maneuver it and to, forge a pathway forward to get the evil, corrupt cabal out of our government and out of government worldwide. But that doesn't necessarily mean that, it had to happen this way. It just is happening this way. This one from Deb Newman. Have you heard about Abbott moving the stock market to Texas? I did. I've actually heard a lot of rumors about the stock market moving from New York to another state. Texas isn't the only state that I've heard of. There's been many. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen with that. I think it's just like a footnote in an ultimate story. I don't think it's really going to be anything that we have to concern ourselves about where it's going to be. I don't think anything like that is something we should be concerned about right now. I'm pretty sure you posted this almost 2 years ago. I can't post it all, but here's the beginning. Is this what you are predicting? Yes. You're going to post that big long article about the crash, 20% per day, and then banks in Europe are going to do this. And yeah, that's what I'm referring to. That's the script. How it got leaked, I have no idea. I didn't leak it. I posted it, but it wasn't leaked by me. Once it was out, I had the authority to share it, but somebody leaked it and they weren't supposed to. That was the script. That was the play-by-play of how and when and why the stock market will crash. So we already have the blueprint. We have the layout. We have the play-by-play from starting on Monday, going all the way up to the next Sunday. We've been given a peek behind the curtain, so to speak. So 98C, I know what you're referring to. I didn't see you post it here, but I know what you're referring to. And yes, that is the playbook. That is the script. That is the exact, maybe it changed a little bit since then, but not much. I mean, the premise is still going to be exactly the same. Berkshire Hathaway had to halt trading the other day. You and friends were aware and involved, a test perhaps? Let's just say I know what that was all about, and certain things have to go through a certain amount of testing, as you called it, before it could be actually enacted on a larger scale. I have a lot of friends that are involved in a lot of things. So that's all I'm going to say about that. But Berkshire Hathaway did suspend trading. Warren Buffett, obviously Berkshire Hathaway is Warren Buffett's company. Big things are happening, guys. I mean, the writing is on the wall. The writing is just all over the place. You don't have to look for comms anymore. You just have to see what's happening in the world, because the way the mainstream media is reporting what's happening, they don't even know that it's part of a plan, that it's part of disclosure to the masses. They don't even know that anymore. Somebody just said eBay stopped Amex payments too. Yeah, of course they did. I mean, it's everywhere. Everywhere. This one from Vanity82. When the crash happens, many senior citizens still won't understand what's really going on. If they're still using a 401k for their retirement draws, will there be some sort of safeguard for them? All I can tell you is this. First of all, I don't know. Okay, I don't want to pretend like I know. But I could tell you that many things have been talked about in terms of what to do for that elderly couple or that elderly lady or that elderly man that just doesn't have internet or can't afford internet or certainly doesn't listen to Phil on Rumble or DLive. So what about that person that we can't necessarily reach? Their son or their daughter go to them because they do follow Phil or whoever, and they still are resistant. They just won't do it. There have been things that have been talked about by the White Hats to put some sort of contingency in place for those type of people. Are they going to do it? I don't know. I would think that it would be a nice gesture, of course, to do it, but I can't guarantee that they will. I see lots of reasons why they won't, and I see lots of reasons why they can't. But the humanity side of it, I see reasons why they would. Truthfully speaking, I don't know how they're going to handle that. I'm glad that other people have that decision to make other than me. Because I don't want to make that decision. This one from Happily Benham. In your description of the week breakdown, how the market will crash, and the revealing info you posted Monday the 26th, then deleted the 26th, should we all be looking at Monday, August 26th? Let me tell you this. If you asked me that question 6 months ago or a year ago, I would have said, no, I don't think you should be looking at August 26, 2024. But now, knowing what's happening in July, what just happened with Trump, and what's happening in July, you could kind of see now with your own eyes the White Hat's plan unfolding. Trump sentencing July 11th. Scheduled election November 2024, right? Go back and you read that day-by-day breakdown of the stock market crashing of that week, like you just mentioned. It does say Monday the 26th. The next Monday the 26th coming up is in August, which just so happens to be right around the same time of things that we've been talking about. The Trump sentencing and so forth. So I don't know if the original date was meant as that and it still holds strong to today, but it certainly makes a lot of sense that it could be. Is it also possible that the original date that they had planned for this to go down has been moved? I know it said Monday to 26th, but this was, think of it as like a script of how it's going to go, but without certain dates. Maybe they were just saying, okay, well, if this happens then this could happen then, and then that would be August 26th. But doesn't necessarily have to be anymore. It could have changed by then, is what I'm getting at. So we'll see. All right, we're going to go to our last topic of the night. And the number one voted topic for tonight's Q&A by my Telegram audience. By the way, guys, if you're not on Telegram, get on Telegram. Telegram is an excellent platform for people like me and for followers like you. A lot of people are forming little groups over there. Good friendships are being made. Like-minded people are there. You will really feel at home with the people that I have on Telegram. So I'll put my link in the description of this Rumble video for the Telegram channel. Get over there, man. I'm telling you. You know what? Let me do that right now so I don't forget, because I will forget. Okay, link is now, whoops, hold on. Okay, link should now, you might have to refresh your screen, but the link now should be in the description for Telegram. Great place to be. So yeah, last category of the night is the continuity of government and the PEAD. The PEAD is the Presidential Emergency Action Document, which we've covered a lot of in my live stream shows. So let's talk about questions regarding the PEAD and the continuity of government plan that's in place. What do you guys want to know about that? And I'll answer these questions the best that I possibly could. Goldco is trying to sell me premium bullion versus common bullion at much higher prices. Why would I buy premium? Because the value is higher. So when that value, even when the spot price will always be the spot price, but you're always going to have numismatic value on top of the spot price. They're trying to set you up for success in the future. If they're recommending that you do that, do it, because they're the experts on this, not us. They know things that we just don't know. And if you and the type of rollover that you're doing with Goldco, by the way, you get to Goldco by going to goldquiz.com. If they're recommending you do that, then you do it. Don't question it. Get it done. It'll be well worth it in the future. Does Trump need permission from the military to use the PED? This is a complicated answer. The answer is yes, but the way that the military is structured and the way that Trump initially needed permission, so to speak, to use the PED is not how it currently is. The structure has changed. So there are still avenues that have to be driven through to get down to the permission part of it. But for the most part, the PED has already been used. We're living through the PED. What hasn't been seen is the announcement of the PED. What hasn't been seen is the, Trump getting up there in front of a microphone surrounded by military generals. Is Goldco available in Colorado? Yes, just go to goldquiz.com and they will help you out from there. Answer the quiz. It's like 5 questions long. So what we haven't seen is Trump standing on a podium surrounded by military generals and, military higher ups talking about continuity of government and the PED and what's happened since 2020. That's coming. That's coming. It's coming to a TV screen near you. But he doesn't need permission to do that. There's no permission right now. It's kind of there's not one guy in charge. It's not Trump in charge of everybody. It's not one guy in the military in charge of everybody else in the military and in charge of Trump. It's not like that. It's not structured like that. It is one big solid group that are calling the shots. So he doesn't need permission to do certain things. Things are being done in the manner of which has a 100% success rate. They are not even leaving a 0.5% on the table in terms of possible failure. So next question. We're on continuity of government and the PED, which is the Presidential Emergency Action Document. This one from Jeremy at Patriots Rising. Is there an expiration date of the PED, for the PED? And if so, how many times has the PED been extended, or is it just active until the state of emergency is lifted? Well, keep in mind, that's a good question, but keep in mind that our government was devolved. Our Constitution was suspended. We are no longer under the old rules and the old laws of the land that we used to be under. It's interesting that Biden keeps extending these states of emergency, and I think that's for other purposes. But once the emergency is declared and once the PED is put into effect, that's the date that you have to worry about. You don't have to worry about all of these other subsequent dates. Once it's acted upon and once there's action involving the PED and the PED is essentially executed, there's no more worrying about when it'll expire. That's the actionable date. Everything happens after that date, but it was already declared. So there's no expiration. That would only be if the PED was never declared. It was declared. The thing that is confusing is that we haven't heard from anyone in authority that it was declared. So we're operating under the assumption that there's a PED, Trump has it, and he hasn't acted on it yet. That's not true. He has acted on it. He devolved the government, and this happened before the inauguration in 2021. So when you think of it on those lines, all those dates of expiration and extensions of, the national emergency and all this is kind of irrelevant in many ways. Good question, Jeremy. Where are we here? Group question. We know we're in continuity of government. Has the PED been used or released yet, even in back channels? Kind of the same question that Jeremy just asked. Well, not really, but I answered it. Yeah, it's been enacted. It was enacted in early January of 2021, prior to January 6th. If you remember, Trump ended his, and if you don't believe me, go back and look at this. Trump ended his New Year's Eve vacation early. You remember that? New Year's of 2021, New Year's Eve. He came back early, rushed back to the White House. No one ever knew why, right? It was because that week, the first week of 2021, was when the PED was executed. The White Hats, got information that Mike Pence was not going to do what he agreed to do. On the 6th, Mike Pence was interrogated, and the presidential emergency action document went into effect prior to January 6th, which the whole vote on January 6th ended up meaning nothing because the Constitution was already suspended. The government was in devolution. We weren't currently operating under anything because a foreign power, a foreign entity, was trying to hijack our government. So everything stops. Everything stops. Military law. So that's when it was declared. And everything that you've seen since then is just, honestly, to prevent death, civil war, panic, economic collapse. This all has to be rolled out to the public in a gentle manner so that not everyone loses everything. And that's what they've been doing. I know a lot of us don't agree with it, but, you know, it's how it is. Your swim shoes from Lisa. Your swim shorts had number 62 on them. Does that relate to the USS Fitzgerald DDG-62 Navy ship that was part of the Operation Valiant Shield? Gematria 136, drop 60. I'm not going to read the rest. No, my shorts, unfortunately, had absolutely no com on them whatsoever. They were just shorts that I happened to buy here, and it could have been any number on them. I had to buy them, so. Excellent observation, though. I like when you guys do that. Even if you ask a question that ends up not going the way that you think it was going to go, I like the way that you think like that. I think that's a very impressive path to go down, because a lot of times those type of comms do exist. Once the PED was issued, doesn't that pause all branches of government until the PED is rescinded? Not sure how anything the Supreme Court rules on since then would be anything other than theater. Absolutely correct, except, first of all, it does suspend everything. So the all government ceases. There's nothing that any branch of government could do, Congress, Supreme Court, executive branch, there's nothing that any branch could do that holds any kind of weight, or it basically renders those branches, all branches of government, useless. And what happens is the military comes in following the continuity of government rollout plan that has been written for situations like this. Now, here's where your question is, here's what you're assuming about the Supreme Court is incorrect. The Presidential Emergency Action Document could grant authority for a very limited number of authorizations on certain topics. So if the military came in and said, well, regarding the election fraud, we're going to entrust the Supreme Court to handle this one matter, and that's it, for purposes of whatever. Now, did they do that? I don't know. but I have had intel since July of 2022 that said the Supreme Court has overruled the state's electoral ballots and reversed the outcome of the 2020 election. That was in July of 22. So the PED was put into effect in January of 21, first week of January. And by July, sometime before July of 2022, we had the Supreme Court making a decision. So something about the permission that the Supreme Court was granted to do that particular act, someone had some authority to do something in regards to that. Who, why, when was it implemented? I don't know those answers. So when the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago, were they looking for the PED? Yes, and other documents. But yes, that was one of them. And the reason is panic. Even if they had the document, it wouldn't have changed anything. It would have just showed the black hats who was in control of what. So basically what they were doing was they were trying to get a peek behind the curtain of the PED so they could try to go and corrupt those that were in key positions to make decisions, because the black hats were operating blind. They didn't know who was in control of this, who was in control of that. It was all a major secret. They knew Trump, and then from there they could assume who was with them and who was against them. These white hats that were in the military didn't act like white hats. They were doing these things behind the scene, but to their colleagues who were black hats, or maybe who most of the people know nothing about any of this, both in the military and in the public, just like most people don't know what's going on. Those people who were actually in prime positions to execute the orders of the emergency action document weren't known to their colleagues. They weren't known. They were operating in complete clandestine fashion for years now. So the black hats raid on Mar-a-Lago was to reveal who the actors were. Who is doing this? Who is doing that? And then they were going to try to what? I don't know, corrupt them, assassinate them, kidnap their family. I don't know what the plan was for those people, but they didn't get the document anyway, so it doesn't matter. Trump is literally always 10 steps ahead. Excellent question, though. Let's take one more. So if the PED suspended government, why are we still paying taxes? First of all, taxes are voluntary. So if you're still paying them, you are volunteering your duty to pay them. Second of all, even if you have paid them, you are not, well, let me just say this. The information that I have says that if you're paying taxes, or if you have paid taxes, you will be reimbursed for the illegal taxes that you have paid throughout your lifetime. Certain stipulations apply. I don't know what the stipulations are, but even if you are paying them right now, if everything goes according to the intel that I have with me right now, you're going to be reimbursed anyway. And that's assuming that you're paying them. Many people have realized that if you read it, people are asking, how are they voluntary? Go read it. Go read what it says about paying taxes. Read it line for line. I'll post it on Telegram later for you guys to read it. But just go read it. Voluntary. Why? Because they can't legally make you pay them. Because you're paying taxes, and taxes aren't even going to your government. They're going to a foreign entity. You are literally paying taxes to a foreign entity. Taxes come out automatically? Well, that's illegal. That is illegal. They cannot take your money for something that's voluntary. It's the corrupt system that we live in, and it all has to get burned to the ground. And it is getting burned to the ground. You're witnessing the burning to the ground. All right, guys, that was fun. We did 5 really good topics. A lot of good information came out tonight. I think everybody is on the same intel level right now since the Trump sentencing. And I think, even though a lot of the things that I talked about tonight, I'm not 100% sure of, everything still lines up pretty nicely when you look at the overall scope of what's been happening here. So really good questions tonight. I like this format quite a bit, the structured format. I like it quite a bit. It keeps us from asking asinine questions, and it keeps us focused on certain topics. And now when we do that, a lot of intel, a lot of explanation, and a lot of education comes out of a Q&A like this. So thank you all for the happy anniversary wishes. Yesterday was my 1-year anniversary with Carrie. We're having a great time down here in Jamaica. Very, very relaxing. Jamaica is a beautiful country, and we did some awesome things down here. So I hope you guys saw the pictures that I posted on Telegram. There's a lot on Facebook that Carrie and I have been posting as well. So check them out. We'll be back stateside, I don't know, sometime next week, I think. And I encourage everybody to if you're watching on Rumble, hit the thumbs up on Rumble. That'll help share the algorithm. Definitely get your ass to goldquiz.com and get that IRA out of the stock market or the 401k, or even if you have a large amount of cash, knowing that the dollar is being devalued as much as it is, go to goldquiz.com. They'll do an EFT transfer and they'll send you metals right away. So thank you guys for tuning in. Love you guys. I will be live. I don't know when I'll be live next, but just look for an announcement on Telegram. I'll have that within the next day or two. Love you guys. See you soon.